everybody. Hi, I'm going to be doing a talk about, so you created a React Native app. What should you do? How do you get it onto people's phones? But I'm going to introduce myself first. But the way I'm going to introduce it is with this. Yeah, I have Beyonce tickets. That's who I am. Yeah. If you want to, thank you. I feel very smug today. But yeah, that's to begin with. But actually, who am I? I'm Faduma. I'm a senior software engineer, and these are my socials, basically. But let's get started. Some of you might be like me, who used to just work with web apps, and maybe super curious about React Native and React apps, and actually, how the hell do you deploy them? Like, what do you do? If you worked with desktop, well, it should say web apps, sorry about that, but it's very easy to deploy, right? There's so many available applications and Fastly, Netlify, and it's very quick to do it. Do you remember this ad from, they're called Fastly now, but deploy your front end in 15 seconds. With native apps, it's not the case, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to burst your bubble. It's not going to be 15 seconds. So let's get started. So how do you actually get your app into people's hands? You have to begin with the gatekeepers, right? You know, girl boss, gatekeep. These are the gatekeepers. If you want your app on people's phones, you have to go through Apple or you have to go through Google. And if they say jump, you're going to have to say how high. You do what they say and you follow their rules. Yeah. So to begin with, to set up, you have to set up a dev account with both of them. So that's the first step. But there is some, ease in the air, and that is App Center. So I'm going to talk about that mostly today. So the next thing you should do if you want your app on people's phones is set up your App Center. And she is the moment. She's the girl. She's going to help you out. App Center is... Oh yeah. So instead of having to build and deploy your app to each of the stores and have to go through two different ways of deploying, you can use App Center. App Center is great. It allows you to deploy your app on many different, iOSs like iOS, Android, Windows, and many more. So why is it great? It's super easy to set up. You can attach it to your GitHub repo, and that's very easy to do. And you can have different build configurations for both iOS and Android in one place. And you can have different configuration for different branches as well. So what does that look like? So here you see I have main and staging, and I have two different configurations are triggered manually through GitHub Actions. And you can see here, this is what the configuration looks like. So basically it's just clicking on things, which makes it super easy, and you can configure it the way that you want. But before then, there's something really important to do while you're configuring. So you've got your App Center, right? You've set up an account, you attached it to your GitHub repo, and you started clicking on things to configure it. Before then, you really need to get your certificates. It sounds really challenging, but it can be a very simple process if you calm down, take a breath, and go through the proper process. So for development staging, you're going to need an ad hoc certificate, and for production, you're going to need a distributor certificate. Really, this is one of the admin that you need to get through before you can actually get your stuff on people's phones, and just do it as soon as, basically. It's the same with Google. So Google, the easiest way to create a certificate is through the Android Studios, and you just save your key. After you've saved your key, you can then use the same application and add your certificate so that App Center can sign your build for you. You can do it on your own, but honestly, just use App Center. It's so easy. So now you're ready to set up your app, right? But wait, maybe you want to do some QAing, right? Maybe you want to have the application on people's hands before then, send it off to people. And this is where App Center can help as well. So for different branches, for example, staging, you, instead of sending it to the store, you can send it to a group of people like developers or QAers, and they can have it on their phones to test it out, to make sure everything's okay. And it's in the same place, basically. So now, are we ready? Not quite yet. You're going to need to connect to each of the stores, right? So for staging, maybe you send it off to developers, and then for production, you're going to send it off to the actual stores. So this process is actually also quite simple if you just follow their directions for each of the stores. So it's very easy to do. Apple, you just log in with the account that has permissions to do so. And then for Google Play, you're going to have to create API credentials and then save the JSON. This is the part which actually freaks some people out, maybe me, I got freaked out, is that because Apple and Google are the gatekeepers, they're not going to allow you onto people's phones without reviewing what you've done and making sure that you're following their guidelines. So you're going to have to follow their rules, basically. And every time you do sort of a native application update where you change something, maybe you now want access to people's cameras, or you want to create events, calendar events, or you want to do something else, interacts with the native layer, you're going to have to do a review. So yeah, don't be scared about this process. It's not that scary. Their rules are quite clear. If you just follow it, I think it'll be great. But I'm a Virgo, so I don't know, maybe I just like rules. So yeah, the review process, which is the most frustrating thing, is it does take a little while. Like it takes 1 to 7 business days if you're Google. Boo, Google. Get your shit together. Well, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But that sounds really long, right? Do you have time to do this all the time? So what helps out is something called Code Push with App Center. So what Code Push is that if you, for example, if you're doing basically just JavaScript or image changes, you can send off your code and get it to people's phones without having to update and go through the review process. So yeah, that's basically how my sort of inspiration for you. So be free, create your Flappy Bird. And thank you for listening to me.